I'm just trying to take a nice stroll through the desert, and this thing pops up. It's big, it's ugly, it's a Molduga. In this video, I'll go over how to defeat them, as well as how I like to farm them. So let's get started. Molduga travel underneath the sand in specific locations in the Gerudo Desert. And there are 4 of them throughout the desert. The Molduga has 1,500 health points, and its weak point is its underbelly. Damaging their underbelly with a decent combination of weapons, armor, and mods makes this fight pretty quick. Molduga respond to any noise in the sand, and will charge and then breach wherever that sound is coming from, and breaching exposes their underbelly. We can make use of this behavior by baiting them with an arrow shot onto the sand near them. It'll be alerted to the sound, rush to the arrow, and breach. Once it's breached the sand, we need to stun it so it falls to the ground, opening it up for damage. And there are 2 ways to do this. First is to shoot an arrow fused with a bomb flower into its underbelly. This is good for when you're close to the Molduga and can reach it with an arrow. The bomb will do a bit of damage, stun it, and make it fall to the ground. The second way is to attach a time bomb to an arrow and fire it onto the ground where you shot the first arrow, and you want to do this before it breaches the sand. The Molduga will swallow the time bomb and be stunned when it explodes. This option is good when you're further away. Now you may be asking, okay, what's the big deal? Do I even need to bother? Can't I just avoid them? Well, 2 things. First, you can earn a cool medal for defeating all 4. Just talk to Graylins in the shelter at Lookout Landing for the quest. He's also got quests for other monster medals. Secondly, they drop a Molduga jawbone, which is a key element in a couple super powerful weapon builds, including the famous Lynel Backscratcher, which, with a few other elements, can absolutely annihilate any Lynel in the game. So it's definitely worth it to hunt these monsters down and defeat them. Alright, let's take a look at what gear we'll need. Now, depending on how you want to stun it, we'll need either bomb flowers or time bombs. I'd suggest just having both available. Bomb flowers are found in most caves, in the depths, and at some vendors, and time bombs are found in certain Zonai dispensers. Next, we need a bow. Now, we can pretty much use any bow here, although one thing to consider, if you're using bomb flowers, a multi-shot bow will do more initial damage than a single-shot bow, since it fires additional bomb flowers. This royal bow, fused with a bomb flower, does 86 damage. This 5-shot Lynel bow, however, does around 395, since it shoots 5 bomb flowers, and this is before we even move in with the sword. Single-shot bows work fine though, and stun the Molduga just as effectively, so whatever bow you've got can work fine. If you're using time bombs for the Molduga to swallow, it doesn't matter what kind of bow you use. The damage difference is negligible. It's just to stun the Molduga. So again, just use what you've got. For a sword, my first choice is a Gerudo Claymore. You can find one in the enemy camp just west of the Karakara Bazaar. The bokoblin at the end of the wooden bridge is holding one, so just take him out and grab it. The upside to Gerudo weapons is they double the damage of whatever's fused to them. The downside is they have really low durability. The base durability of a Gerudo Claymore is 10, which means it will break in 10 hits. When fused with something, the durability goes up to 15, so 15 hits to break. The Molduga has 1,500 health, so ideally we want the sword to do at least 100 damage per hit, so we can finish the fight before the sword breaks. Although I should note, when a sword breaks, it doubles the damage on that last hit. So if you're close to defeating the Molduga, that sword break multiplier can get you there, just something to keep in mind. Fusing a Captain Construct 4-horn to the Claymore will get us exactly 100 damage. I know it says 80 in the menu, but underbelly shots count as a headshot, so the damage is multiplied. And by the way, if you haven't used the Tears of the Kingdom damage calculator website, I highly recommend it. It shows all kinds of useful information on weapon damage, enemy health, fuse power, effects like attack up, and freezing hits. It's great. And I'm in no way affiliated with this site. I just think it's really helpful and I use it all the time. So check it out. Back to our Claymore, with the Captain Construct 4-horn fused, we can kill the Molduga in 15 hits, just as the sword breaks. Now there's one big thing to note here, and just to give you a heads up. If you haven't upgraded your Zonite armor set, you're going to need 15 of these for the final upgrade, 5 for each piece of armor, along with other construct horns. If that's the case, just hold on to what you've got and use something else to fuse to the sword, even if it's lower damage and breaks during the fight. It's always a good idea to have a few swords ready, just in case one breaks, so just make a few sword fuses and you're good. And if you use a bomb flower to stun the Molduga, it will do some damage to its health, so hitting that 100 damage per hit for a sword isn't always necessary. We're also going to add in an attack up +3 meal, which will multiply our overall damage by 1.5, so every little bit of damage will add up quickly. The lowest fuse item I'd go with is a silver Lizalfo's tail, and anything above that will work fine. There are, of course, other options for swords. I like two-handed swords personally, as it's easy to just spin and hit, but honestly, anything with decent damage works. For example, in this clip, I have a gnarled wooden stick fused with a silver Lizalfo's horn, and the damage isn't bad at all. It's going to take 2 damage phases for sure, but that's not a problem, as I'll come to in the next section. For our purposes, I'll be using a Silver Boss Bokoblin horn fused to my Claymore. This combo does 105 damage per hit, or 158 per hit with attack up +3, which I have active in this clip, and we'll talk about in a moment. With the attack up +3, this sword kills in 9 hits, or 15 hits without the attack up +3. So in either case, our sword will last through the fight. My favorite sword from Moldugas is a Pristine Gerudo Claymore with a durability up modifier, although an attack up +10 modifier is nice too. I do have a video on Pristine Weapons and how to find them, so check that out if it interests you. Next we need a couple rocket shields. These will make the multiple damage phases a lot easier. If you've never used a rocket shield, just take out a rocket and fuse it right to the shield. When you press ZL to block, you'll shoot up in the air and your paraglider will automatically pop out. Make a few of these just in case you need them. For armor, I like to go with the Desert Vo set if I'm fighting Moldugas during the day. It gives max heat resistance, so the desert heat doesn't affect you. If you have the sand boots, pop those on as well to get the sand speed up perk. We also want an attack up +3 meal or elixir. This multiplies our overall damage by 1.5. There are a lot of ways to make these meals, but I'll keep it simple. Any 4 of these items cooked together gives attack up +3 for 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Any 5 cooked together lasts for 4 minutes and 10 seconds. Cooking 4 of these items with a dragon horn lasts for 30 minutes. In the previous clip, I showed the Claymore with the attack up +3 effect active, and it took 9 hits to kill the Molduga. Without this effect, it would have taken 15. So I think it's worth it to make a few of these meals and get the extra damage. The second option is to use an armor set upgraded enough to give the attack up perk, and there are a handful of these sets in the game, including the Barbarian set, the Phantom set, and the Fierce Deity set. And depending on the time of day, you will need an elixir to counter the heat or the cold of the desert. And lastly, for sages, Tulin is super helpful for getting around and into position to do damage, so I always have him active. Alright, let's get into the actual fight. For this fight example, I'll be using the Molduga located next to the Siwakama Shrine in the far eastern part of the Gerudo Desert. Of the 4, this one is the easiest in my opinion, and a good one to practice on. The shrine is on top of a large rock, which provides plenty of high ground, and the Molduga makes a circle around it. First thing, as always, is to make a save file as insurance. If anything goes wrong, or if you want to restart the fight, just reload the save. Then I'll eat my attack up meal. I'll use time bombs for this first example. We want to avoid the sand until the Molduga is stunned, or it will attack us. So I'll stay up on this high ground and go from here. I want to put my time bomb right in its path so it will swallow it. So I'm just going to watch it and see where it's heading. Once its path is clear, I'll wait for it to get close and fire a time bomb right in front of it. You see an exclamation point above its head? That means it's going to attack. It breaches and swallows the time bomb, and I move quickly using Tulin to get closer to its underbelly. Then pull out the sword and start spinning. You can see it start to roll over, but just keep spinning. And it takes 10 hits to finish. And just a note, sometimes the Molduga might not notice the arrow or time bombs, and I'm not sure why. It could be how far away I am, but just fire another one until it does. And for the second example, we'll use bomb flowers. Now we need to be closer in order to actually hit the Molduga with the arrow. So I'll glide down to this rock and avoid the sand so I don't get noticed. I'll shoot an arrow to bait it right in front of me, and when it breaches, attach a bomb flower and shoot its underbelly. It's stunned and falls to the ground. Move in quickly to start the damage. Start spinning up, holding the swing button. Again, notice how it's starting to roll over on its belly, but we're close, so just keep swinging. And this took 9 shots. So the single bomb flower damage effectively took off 1 sword hit from the last example, which took 10 hits. And you can see we're using a multi-shot bow with the bomb flowers would have a big impact. So what happens if we don't finish off the Molduga before it rolls back onto its belly? If I just keep swinging, it'll do a spin attack and smack me with its tail. Then I'm left out in the open sand, right where I don't want to be. And this is where the rocket shields we made will come in. We want to get up and out of the way before the Molduga does its spin move. So watch it as it rolls over, then pull out the shield and get up in the air. It'll burrow back into the sand and start moving again. What we want to do is make it breach a second time, but from the air. So just watch where it's heading and shoot an arrow in front of it to get its attention. And like before, use a time bomb or a bomb flower to stun it. I can then move in for a second damage phase. If you need a third damage phase, just repeat the steps. You'll need another rocket shield, so make sure to have a few ready. And if your sword breaks, just swap to another one and continue. This cycle of bait, damage, rocket shield, repeat is one of the easiest ways I've found to finish this fight. And you can certainly try other tactics here, like finding some high ground, or a pillar or a rock, and attack from there. But the Molduga can get you if you're standing on a rock like this one, so keep that in mind. If you have low stamina, you may need to alter this method a bit, or replenish it with a stamina meal. But it is possible to bait the Molduga from the ground, so it'll breach right in front of you. The timing and the distance can be tricky, but it's definitely an option that works. For this last part, I want to show how I farm Molduga jaws. I'll also show all 4 of them and how I approach each fight and location, as they are a bit different. The strategy is the same as before, it's how to get to the Molduga that differs. My weapon of choice for farming Moldugas is a Pristine Gerudo Claymore with either a durability up modifier or an attack up plus 10 modifier. For this example, I'll use the attack up plus 10 Claymore, but I have both ready for when one breaks. And I use a silver Lynel Saberhorn as my fuse item. My armor is the same as the previous examples, the Desert Voe set and the sand boots, and I use a regular 3-shot Savage Lino bow to get that extra bomb flower damage. I also have an attack up plus 3 meal active. Altogether, I'll be doing 270 damage per hit with the Claymore. For the first Molduga, I glide down to this rock and bait it with an arrow. Shoot it with the bomb flowers when it breaches. Then move into damage. And it took 5 hits. Then grab the loot and head to the next one. For the second one, the shrine is underground. No problem, just climb to the top, use Ascend, and get to the surface. Now I want to head to the west side of this rock structure. There are a couple enemies on the eastern side, but I'm going to ignore them. Once I'm on this rock, I use the same strategy as before. Bait the Molduga, shoot it with bomb flowers, then move in for damage. For the third Molduga, I'll travel to the Gerudo Town Shrine and use a fan bike to get over to it. You could also rent a sand seal or just run there. There's a small ridge line along the edge of the sand that is a decent high ground to attack from, and there may be a few enemies around here, just FYI. But in my case, I'll just fly right above the Molduga, then drop in and bait it from the air. And here's another example of the Molduga not hearing the arrow actually hit the ground. Again, I'm not sure why this happens sometimes, but just keep shooting until it's alerted. Shoot it with bomb flowers. And damage. Molduga number 4 is in the far western part of the desert. And my claymore is about to break, so I'll go ahead and switch to the other one now. To reach the last Molduga, I need to cross some swirling quicksand. And this shrine is also surrounded by enemies, and I'd rather ignore them. One way to get over is to use a rocket shield and paraglide to this ridgeline. But I'll just use another fan bike instead. And you can see the temperature changes to cold, so I swap to a shield with an Igneo-Talus heart fused to it, and that gives me enough heat. Then glide in, see where the Molduga is heading, and bait it with an arrow. Then shoot it with bomb flowers when it breaches. And then move into damage. Now when all 4 Moldugas are defeated, they won't reset until after a blood moon, and I certainly don't want to wait for that. So I'll just trigger it myself by overloading the game. And this works on both Switch 1 and Switch 2. In order to do this, you'll need a full stamina wheel, or eat a stamina meal to get the full amount. You'll also need a 5-shot bow, a rocket shield, and 9 topaz. If you've got any of the 3-shot Lynel bows or the 3-shot Korok bow, you can upgrade these to 5 shots at a rock octorok near Death Mountain. Once you've got your bow, find some water. Almost any body of water works, but I use the small pond next to Link's house or the pond near the Bedrock Bistro. Both have a shrine next to them for easy access. Stand on the edge of the water and then make a save file. And this is crucial, as we'll be reloading it to cause the blood moon. Use the rocket shield to pop up in the air, then attach topaz to an arrow and fire it into the water. Then just keep attaching and firing topaz into the same spot as quickly as you can. You'll notice the game start to drop frames, which is what we want. Watch your stamina wheel, and when you're on the last bit before running out, load the save file. When it loads back in, a blood moon should happen. If it didn't, and you're on a Switch 1, make sure you fired all 9 topaz arrows. If you're on switch 2, there is a chance it didn't overload enough. Now I've had this happen twice, and activating all the sages while doing it did fix it for me. Now there are some other ways to trigger a blood moon. I only use this method, but if you can't get it to work, or you want to try something else, just do a search, you'll find some other options. Once the blood moon happens, all 4 Molduga are back, and we can repeat the process. Alright, so Molduga really aren't that bad, right? They just take some planning and some strategy. Hopefully this video gives you some ideas, and you're able to square up with these big, ugly monsters and grab the loot they drop. If you'd like more info on the Lynel Backscratcher I mentioned, I do have a video on farming silver Lynels that feature this weapon, and I show how to make it and what loadout you need. Also, my Pristine Weapons Reference video shows where to find the Royal Guard's Claymore you'll need, along with all decayed and pristine weapons. So check those out if you'd like to learn more. Other than that, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.